I'm the CTO the whole valley envies, the one rumored to dream in source code. Together with my fiancé, Riverdale's most photogenic coal baronaire, we turned a garage mock-up into Singularity, the fastest unicorn the West Coast had ever seen. He wrote the checks. I wrote the future. The cap table glittered, and so did our life. Then came the mashup art and tech exhibition in the old airplane hangar. Grant wandered toward a pop-up installation the way a man walks into traffic, dazed, mouth half open, pupils blown. The girl twirling in front of the projection-mapped canvas was Sabrina, final year painting major from the Riverdale Art Institute. She talked about light, empathy, and giving silicon a soul, her laughter scattering like wind chimes. I stood at the bar, stylus tucked behind my ear, laughing at the cliché of it, until I saw the look on Grant's face. He was already building a cathedral of might be around her, brick by shining brick. He told me later, half asleep, her ideas are fairy dust, but imagine if we could bottle it. I pretended not to hear the wish in his voice. 6 weeks afterward, he cornered me between the espresso machine and the floor-to-ceiling whiteboard. Sabrina doesn't want to be a trophy wife, he said, fingers drumming a nervous C major on his tumbler. She wants the CTO title. Just the title, Rowan. You keep the real control. The stylus in my hand snapped the touchscreen, a jagged canyon ripping straight through the architecture diagram we were scheduled to demo that afternoon. Shards of Gorilla Glass glittered like cheap glitter. Somehow that felt fitting. Our relationship had just cracked louder. Rowan, Avery's here. My assistant's voice carried through the open door. Before I could answer, Grant stepped inside, all cashmere and sandalwood, wrapping his arms around my waist as though nothing in the universe had shifted. Don't fry your brain, Sabrina. We're getting married next month, remember? I let myself lean back for 2 heartbeats, then remembered Sabrina's Instagram story, a photo of white roses and fairy lights, captioned first ever salon at Loft 14. Can't wait for Grant to see the space transformed. The event started in 40 minutes. I tilted my head. Thought you had a cultural commitment. His gaze skated away like a skipped stone. We need to talk. He laid the same proposal on the conference table, gift-wrapped in startup jargon about creative collision and left brain/right brain yin-yang. I tuned him out and watched the LED clock flip numbers, each tick tightening the vice around my ribs. The kicker. Announcing it tonight will be her welcome gift. My brain did a clean reboot. When vision returned, hairline fractures were spreading across the 32-inch Pro display. My stylus had punched a spiderweb of doom straight through the pixel forest. My assistant's shriek pierced the haze. Rowan, the screen. Grant was already gone, phone pressed to his ear, probably arranging the champagne toast. I dropped the broken stylus. It clinked like a champagne flute against the concrete. Get legal on the line, I said. Draft the equity split agreement, then round up every director for an emergency session. Tonight. In the glass boardroom, the air tasted metallic, as though someone had licked a 9-volt battery and exhaled. Grant occupied the throne at the far end, knuckles white around a stainless steel water bottle. I took the presenter's spot, ignoring the nuclear winter in his stare. Thank you for coming on short notice, I began, voice steady. Earlier today, Avery reached a decision. Effective immediately, Sabrina will assume the role of Chief Technology Officer. Chaos detonated. Half the directors shouted my name. The rest shouted Grant's. Slack pings erupted from 7 pockets like panic cicadas. One veteran hammered the walnut tabletop. We're handing engineering to a painter? We're a $5 billion company, not a paint-by-numbers hobby club. Grant lifted a placating palm. Her creative lens will diversify our... I cut him off. Avery's rationale is his. I asked for this meeting to make my own position clear. The double doors burst open. Sabrina floated in, white sundress flapping, cheeks flushed from sprinting across campus. Serena, why are you humiliating Grant? She wailed, mascara already liquefying. She flung herself against him, a fragile bird colliding with a granite monument. Grant folded her in instinctively, and the sight was a paper cut to every memory I had of being held that same way. He raised his eyes to me, fury crackling. Directors won't save you from pettiness, Rowan. I thought you were bigger than a title. Sabrina lifted her chin, voice trembling with missionary zeal. You tech people speak in binary, but the world needs watercolor. I will teach code to dream in color. A director in a navy pinstripe muttered, "Great, she's going to debug neural nets with acrylics." Grant tried to restore order. "We'll table further discussion." I stepped forward, palms flat on the frosted glass tabletop. "My statement stands. I disagree with the appointment. I will not endorse it, operationalize it, or stay to witness the crash." The room went vacuum silent. Sabrina's breath hitched. Grant's jaw flexed like he was chewing steel. Another director stood. "Motion to suspend the resolution until a formal technical review is completed." Hands shot up, a forest of dissent. Sabrina clutched Grant's sleeve. "Tell them you have the authority." He guided her toward the exit, whispering furiously, already calculating the reputational cost. When the doors hissed shut behind them, the oldest board member slammed his folio shut. "Absolute Alex," he growled. Head swiveled toward me like synchronized drones. I exhaled for what felt like the first time in hours. "That concludes my update," I said quietly. "Legal will circulate the separation proposal within the hour." "I appreciate your time and your trust," I said, word by word. "After everything we've built, I will not hand the heart of this company to someone who doesn't know the first thing about technology. Therefore, I hereby resign from every position I hold at Singularity, and, per the equity split agreement, I will transfer every share I own." An old director sighed with regret. "Sabrina, don't be rash. There's still room to negotiate." I gave him a grateful smile, then dropped the real bomb. "Thank you for your confidence. I've received several invitations from Zane at Nebula. Today I accept. He and I will jointly push a new industry-wide technical standard." "Nebra, Zane." The instant I stepped out of the building, Grant and Taylor blocked my path. Grant's face was stormy. His eyes pinned me like nails. "Sabrina, I don't care what you just told the directors. I'm giving that seat to Sabrina, and nothing will change that." Taylor leaned against him, a sugary sneer curving her lips. "Sabrina, don't blame Grant. These days everyone codes, but hardly anyone understands art. I'll outshine you, just watch." Looking at this perfectly matched pair of idiots, I almost laughed out loud. Contempt dripped from my voice. "Fine. If the title matters so much to you, take it." Grant frowned, as though he were doing me a favor. He stepped away from Taylor and closer to me, tone patronizing. "Enough drama. Sabrina gets the CTO chair. I'll keep you on as chief scientist, same pay, same level. Stick to art, D, and stop chasing empty titles." Taylor chimed in at once. "Exactly, Sabrina. Quit the tantrum. We're all backing Grant's vision. You should too." She lifted her chin, gloating. "And Daddy adores me. He's ready to bankroll Grant so he never has to beg for our D money again. Can't we all just get along?" I gave up trying to talk sense into them. "My resignation letter and equity transfer docs will come from legal." I walked past without another word. Behind me, Grant barked, "Sabrina, stop this theater. I offered you a way down. Don't be stupid." I never looked back. At home, my parents were waiting. I drew a long breath and announced, "Mom, Dad, I've quit Singularity." Calmly, I told them everything. The showdown, my decision to join Nebula and partner with Zane. Finally, I said, "Please help me call off the engagement to the Sterling family." Mom shook with anger. "That girl Taylor is poison. How could Grant choose her?" Dad gave a cold laugh. The retired Fortune 500 exec had seen it all. "Cancelled." "Absolutely," he declared. "A fool like Grant isn't worth marrying." "And Taylor," he added, "watch her. I've seen heirs and socialites used to hijack startups. A sweet rich girl can be the sharpest blade. Maybe she's innocent, maybe not, but leaving that snake pit is smart. Trust nobody." He met my eyes, admiration plain. "You did the right thing." As for Zane, his expression sobered. I've studied Nebula's books and his track record. Self-made, ruthless, visionary. He's punching at the weight of Valley legends twice his age. Teaming with him could be brilliant. Your mom and I are behind you 100%. 1 month after my exit, Gossip swirled that I'd bowed out because I was jealous of Taylor. I ignored it. I was too busy gearing up for the new project with Zane. I took my assistant to the Future Tech Summit to gather intel. While I was chatting with veteran engineers about next-gen standards, a practice-naive voice rang across the lounge. Sabrina? Taylor floated in, a pastel princess dressed totally wrong for the tech crowd, hands fluttering to her mouth as if shocked to see me. Oh my, Sabrina. Fancy meeting you here. I thought, well, this summit is pretty exclusive. Only top-tier execs get invites. You're here alone. Her soft tone sliced through the buzz, just enough for everyone to hear. Before I could answer, Lee, a senior partner at a top VC firm, spoke up. Serena's core algorithm patents set half the benchmarks in our field. She could walk in here as an indie hacker and still belong. Miss, you're new. Any concrete view on which protocol layers need fixing? Taylor's smile froze. Her gaze skittered. I feel technology shouldn't be boxed in by rigid rules. What it really lacks is love and beauty. Grant rushed over to rescue her. Mr. Williams, of course code is our bedrock, but every discipline hits walls. Cross-pollination breaks them. Taylor's an artist whose aesthetic instincts can spark fresh angles on human-tech synergy. Singularity has always embraced bold experiments. Snickers popped like firecrackers. Since when does art excuse cluelessness? The laughter rippled. Whispers turned into open chatter. Feel the market pulse? Is she our fortune teller now? Has Grant lost his mind, letting this airhead tank his company? Taylor's face burned crimson. She clutched Grant's sleeve, voice cracking. Details are for the engineers. My job is vision, sensing where the heart wants to go next. Grant's rage finally found a target, me. He strode forward, eyes glacial. Sabrina, happy now? You just had to show up and watch her twist. What did she ever do except try to make Singularity better? I showed mercy and left you the title of chief scientist out of old affection, and this is how you repay me. Joining outsiders to humiliate Sabrina? You think you can still stand in this industry once you leave me? Right now you're nothing but. Before he could finish, a cool, commanding voice rose behind me, instantly drowning out every murmur in the room. Whoever intends to poach my partner, also the chief technology officer of Nebula, might want to speak up now. The entire hall fell silent. Zane, founder of Nebula, impeccably dressed in a tailored dark suit, stood tall and unhurried as he threaded his way through the crowd. Grant barked out a laugh, the sound thin and icy, as if scraped from his throat. He stalked straight toward Zane and nudged him with a deliberate shoulder check, bristling with reckless provocation. Emery, everyone in this town knows Sabrina is mine, my fiancée. You dare to use her? Will you let her near proprietary code? Will you give her any real power? I froze. So this was the real reason he felt invincible. Ever since I resigned, his so-called attempts to hold me back had been nothing but a cat toying with a mouse. He didn't fear my leaving because he was certain I had nowhere to go. He saw me as personal property, set aside for the moment, maybe, but forever stamped with his brand, untouchable by anyone else. A chill climbed from my soles. I spoke, voice cutting. Grant, listen carefully. From the instant you told me to surrender my CTO title for Taylor, our engagement ended. I never agreed. Panic cracked his pitch, heads turned at the shrill note. I don't agree. So it isn't over. You will not walk away like this. Zane's calm, forceful voice rose behind us. Avery, first, your so-called engagement has no legal weight. Second, a closer look would tag you as the party at fault. Every word was measured, honed like a term sheet clause. The color drained from Grant's face. Moreover, Zane swept his gaze across the room, tone ringing clear. Let me repeat. Sabrina is Nebula's chief technology officer, and my full partner. Gasps rippled through the audience. The rumor was now stone-cold fact. Zane and Sabrina had teamed up in earnest. Grant's lips twitched, but no sound emerged. Every trace of blood had fled his cheeks. Zane's eyes shifted to Taylor, who stood pale beside Grant and remarked, perhaps your new CTO really can lift Singularity to the summit, powered solely by her love. Without another glance at them, he turned to me and gestured. Come. Several old friends have been eager to meet you. He guided me through the crowd, leaving Grant frozen and Taylor glowering in our wake. Our exit did not restore calm to the hall. From a distance, I heard Taylor's fury. Blind to the awkward stares and Grant's livid grimace, she seized his arm, voice shrill. "Grant, what did you mean just now? Engagement?" When he offered no answer, she unraveled completely, flinging every promise back at him like knives. "You came to my loft. You said my art could thaw your frozen company. You pursued me every single day." Grant's eyes flashed murder. He tried to muffle her mouth. Taylor flung his hand away, crying louder. "You swore the CTO title would be my perfect gift. You swore it matched me. Only me." His limbs trembled, not from fear, but from volcanic rage. Taylor hurled her final accusations to the crowd, as though to convince herself. "You told me your tie with Sabrina was pure business, no love. You swore you'd never marry her, that you loved only me." Each sentence delivered a fresh slap, ripping open every lie, every half-truth, every shameless seduction, spilling them bloodied across the floor. The poised, affectionate, calculating mask he had worn for so long shattered into nauseating shards. Smack! A crisp explosion cut every sound short. Grant's palm crashed across Taylor's cheek. Silence fell like a tomb. Taylor pressed her face, disbelief dissolving into venomous hatred. Chest heaving, Grant pointed at her, voice a savage hiss. "Had enough? You enjoy airing our filth in public, is that it?" Without another word, or gesture of comfort, he straightened his twisted tie, turned, and shoved through the throng, fleeing in disgrace. Taylor remained alone, motionless. Her cheek blazed, yet the sting paled beside the humiliation and hate boiling inside her. Pitying, mocking, voyeuristic eyes swarmed her, needling the tatters of her dignity. That evening's spectacle became the industry's favorite new anecdote. I emerged as the inspirational icon. Grant and Singularity turned into a laughingstock. I assumed he would lie low. I had misjudged his obsession and his stupidity. Days later, leaving Nebula's tower, I spotted the familiar car at once. Grant leaned against the door, haggard, shadows pooling beneath unslept eyes. He flicked his cigarette away and rushed over, voice hoarse. "Sabrina, we need to talk." I kept walking. "We have nothing to discuss." He blocked my path, posture humble, yet the words dripping poison. "I know you hate me, but you can't trust Zane. Don't be fooled. He's a carnivore who spits out no bones. Nebula is his personal fiefdom. He'll wring every idea out of you and dump you like excess code. You master technology, but you've no clue how filthy his tactics are." I stopped and looked at him. "Come back, Sabrina." Seeing me pause, hope flared in his eyes. "We'll go back to how it was. You'll be CTO, no, CEO. We'll start over, all right?" I studied his face, so expertly arranged in remorse and devotion, and laughed. "Grant," I asked quietly, "you came looking for me today, not because you love me, not because you regret hurting me." He froze. I took one step forward, looked straight into his eyes. "You're not here because you realize you were wrong. You're here because you realize you're about to lose everything." The color drained from his face. The remorse in his gaze turned to the shame and rage of a man caught in the act. Smack! The crisp sound echoed in front of the office building at dusk. I slapped him with everything I had, my palms stinging. I stared at his stunned face and said coldly, "That slap is to tell you, put away your self-righteous little speech." I didn't look at him again. I turned and walked toward my car. In the rearview mirror, I saw Grant still rooted to the spot, a statue that had had its soul yanked out. What I didn't know was that his performance wasn't over. After crashing into a wall with me, he engineered another chance encounter, this time with Zane. He put on a confiding smile. "Emery," he said, swirling his wine glass with feigned sincerity. "I know Sabrina. Her pride is sky-high. After a shock like this, she's bound to act on impulse. She's only throwing herself at you to get back at me." He paused, adopting the tone of a worldly advisor. "Once she calms down, she'll come back to me. 7 years together, after all. I'd caution you not to sink too much feeling, or capital, into this, or you'll end up empty-handed." Zane dabbed the corner of his mouth unhurriedly, never even giving Grant a direct glance, and said to the assistant beside him in a flat voice, "Security here needs tightening. Any stray dog seems to be able to wander in." Bounced from both sides, Grant dragged his humiliation and bottled fury back to the office. He shoved the door open. Waiting was Sabrina, flawlessly made up. "Get lost." He flung her aside and hurled his briefcase onto the sofa. His eyes bloodshot, Grant glared at her with a revulsion and hatred Sabrina had never seen. "If you hadn't shot your mouth off at that summit, things would never have reached this point," he roared. Sabrina trembled. She had never seen Grant so unhinged. "You weren't like this before." Grant laughed, a cold laugh soaked in despair and self-mockery. "Know what I regret most?" Step by step he advanced. Taylor retreated until her back hit the cold wall and there was nowhere left to go. Grant leaned close to her ear and, in the cruelest whisper, said, "What I regret is the afternoon I ever met you." The press launch for the next-gen Project Standard entered its final countdown. Backstage in the makeup room, I adjusted the lapel pin in the mirror. Zane walked in with 2 cups of coffee and handed me one. "Ready, our CTO?" he asked, leaning against the doorframe, eyes smiling. "Of course." I took a sip, nodded with confidence. He was silent a moment, then said, "Want to hear the latest on our competitor?" I lifted my gaze. In the mirror, I saw the playful look on his face. Competitor could only mean one company. "I'm all ears. Singularity has been a circus." Zane's tone was casual, as if recounting someone else's farce. The fiasco at the summit shredded their reputation. Half their biggest clients bolted. The stock went into freefall. I listened quietly, saying nothing. Then, he continued, Taylor's father, Chairman Lin, the energy tycoon, made his move. While the share price was on life support, he began vacuuming up retail stock. But Grant reacted faster and more shamelessly than I expected. Zane had my full attention now. Instead of stabilizing the price or calming shareholders, he used the panic, burned through his last cash, and scooped up battered shares from terrified smallholders. He's betting against the chairman. Whoever ends with more chips wins. I understood at once. In the company's darkest hour, Grant's first thought wasn't rescue. It was how to squeeze out maximum personal profit. Outcome? I asked. Chairman Lin won the hand, but Grant clenched enough equity to make himself impossible to flush out. Zane's voice slid into open mockery. Cameron, at the bargaining table, Grant volunteered a trade. What kind of trade? He asked. To marry Sabrina. I froze. The absurdity actually stunned me. He proposed it himself. I set my cup down and turned, unable to parse the logic. If he despises the Lins for moving in for the kill, why volunteer for a marriage alliance? And after the summit, how could Sabrina possibly agree? Zane looked at me, eyes grave. He stepped closer and said softly, Serena, this is what makes corporate dynastic marriages brutal. For Grant, it isn't about love. It's the last card that keeps his founder, title, and control. Trade a woman he already loathes in exchange for staying in the game. Minimal cost, maximal gain. Pure calculation. As for Sabrina, Zane sighed. Maybe family interests dragged her in. Maybe her gambler's pride won't let her fold. She thinks a marriage certificate can chain a man, rewrite a relationship. He summed it up with surgical precision. Their entire deal is chips, not feelings. The tighter they bind each other, the fiercer the backlash. And that backlash has already begun. He accepted Chairman Lin's capital and got Sabrina as wife. In return, Sabrina became the company's CTO, but to neuter her, Grant promoted 2 more tech directors, so the 3 can checkmate one another. The infighting is savage, the org chart a mess, every project dead in the water. Right now, they have neither the mind nor the muscle to compete with us. I couldn't help laughing. That is Grant, forever scheming, forever at war with himself, turning the company he once bragged about into a giant punchline. I stood, straightened my jacket, eyes bright and steady. When we join forces, we create. We're 1 + 1 greater than 2. They're endless attrition. 1 + 1 = 1. We don't need to fear an opponent busy carving its own tomb. A flicker of admiration flashed through Zane's eyes. He extended his hand to me. So, Casey, are you ready to launch our era? I laid my hand in his and walked out beside him. Wait and see. The instant we stepped onto the launch stage, 1,000 flashbulbs erupted, and in the corner of the hall, I spotted the one invitee who had never been invited at all. Grant sat there alone, tilting his head to look up at us, his gaze as tangled as an overturned inkpot. Pain, envy, resentment, and a thick, choking regret. This glittering coronation of mine must have felt, to him, like a slow, endless, drawn-in quartering. The Project Next Generation Technical Standard launch ended in triumph, applause surging like a tide that would not recede. Zane and I stood center stage, bowing to the partners and spectators below. Just as the lights hit their brightest, and we prepared to take our curtain call, to savor the summit that belonged to us, an intruder climbed the steps in a way no one foresaw. It was Grant. He snatched the microphone from the host and, like a beast driven into a dead end, eyes bloodshot, face warped by jealousy and madness, shouted, "Stop right there." His ragged voice carried through the speakers, drowning every last clap. "This grand show is built on a lie, a shameful lie." Gasps swept the hall, every head swiveled to the unfolding farce. Grant spun around, fingers stabbing toward me, malice dripping from every syllable. "Sabrina, you're nothing but a thief. Every piece of core tech you unveiled today was stolen from Singularity Tech's never-public secret initiative, Project." I froze. Zane stepped in front of me at once, face like ice. Grant sneered and signaled his assistant to plug in a USB drive. The giant screen filled with technical documents, not the core code, but pages of design thinking, scrapped test data, partial framework sketches for non-core modules, meticulous, logical, rich with the inevitable missteps and iterations of R&D. It was his final bet. He had burned the last of the company's cash-hiring corporate spies. Though they had never reached our most sacred source code, they had still torn off great strips of peripheral process files, hyenas worrying a carcass. Now those very research logs, watermarked Project, were paraded as ironclad proof against us. "Look closely." Grant's voice rang through the auditorium. "Real innovation is never born overnight. Just like solving a proof, you need the steps, not merely the answer. These files show a project's authentic journey from 0 to 1. He whirled back to me, eyes shining with sick excitement. "Sabrina, if you dare claim this is your original work, then prove it. Publish the core code of Project here and now, and let it face off against my rough draft." I had walked straight into the trap he had spent weeks crafting. Every gaze in the hall pinned me. Doubt, appraisal, expectation. I knew I could not publish the core code. That would be commercial suicide. Yet if I refused, any defense I mustered would crumble beneath this mountain of supposedly authentic process evidence. Nebula and the Newborn Star Alliance risked being branded thieves at the very instant of their apotheosis. My lips pressed tight in helpless silence when Zane calmly took the microphone from my hand and stepped between me and the crowd. The innocent need no justification. His voice was rock steady, instantly quieting the turbulence. "We welcome any investigation conducted within the law. As for Avery's baseless public slander, our legal team is filing suit immediately." Zane's poise bought us a fragile calm, but the seeds of suspicion had been sown. Grant wore the triumphant grin of a man dragging his enemy into the mire, delighting in my speechless, cornered panic. Just as he tasted victory, a cool female voice rang out from the back of the hall. "No need for lawsuits." Every head turned. The voice paused, laced with contempt. "Because his rough draft is stolen too." Taylor walked slowly up the aisle. She wore a plain business suit, face placid, eyes emptied at last of their old love and madness, replaced by still water and release. Ignoring Grant's distorted stare, she reached center stage and connected her tablet to the projector. For months, Avery drained the company's final reserves. She stated the facts without inflection. Not for R&D, not to meet payroll. Every last dollar went to corporate spies in a futile raid on Nebula. The screen changed. Encrypted email chains between Grant and the spies, crisp screenshots of large offshore transfers. Proof gleamed in high definition. The truth blazed naked. Grant's venomous accusation had become a public self-immolation. Idiocy aired for the world to judge. No, no. Grant collapsed, babbling, scrambling for a final straw as security closed in and hauled him from the stage. The fire of vengeance he had lit now burned only him to ashes. Left on the platform were Zane, Taylor, and me. I looked at Taylor. She looked back. Her gaze carried remorse, release, perhaps even the unspoken solidarity of two women who had survived the same storm. Neither of us spoke, yet everything was said. She dipped her head in a small nod, turned, and walked away, alone, down the steps and into the crowd. Zane's hand folded around mine again, warm, steady. He murmured in my ear, "Now, at last, the stage is quiet." I watched the applause rise again, fuller and fiercer than before, and I nodded. Yes, quiet. Our era could finally begin. All static swept aside. Thank you for listening. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate today's story? If you enjoyed it, please hit like and share with friends. We look forward to your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe for more gripping tales.
See you next time.
Aurora, do you love me? He wrapped his arm around the woman in his lap and grinned at me. He tipped her chin up, kissed her loudly, then turned back. Be good and run out for condoms. The woman curled against my husband gave a sweet, poisonous laugh. Her stare was pure venom. But, cousin, if you insist on dumpster diving, don't come crying later. The ocean was ice. I waded deeper. His voice still rang in my ears. Aurora, if Mom hadn't pitted you and dragged you home, you'd be nothing. Don't be ungrateful. Water climbed my ribs, crushing my lungs. My vision tunneled, breath came in desperate gulps. Suddenly Dad's voice cut through. Honey, I spun. Only blackness. A surge knocked me down, swallowed me into midnight blue silence. I let my eyes close and felt warmth bleed away. Dolores's sneer flashed, burden of a girl. Then the roar, you shame your parents. I opened my eyes. A man stood with his back to me, wringing seawater from clothes. He turned. Throwing your life away is the weakest move on earth. I jerked fully awake, my ears rang like sirens. Dad's voice again, our honey stays stubborn, stays fierce, no one messes with her. And if they try, Dad's right here. Above me the sky paled toward dawn. Right, Mom raised a willful little princess, not the cringing burden of a girl the Fulton estate trained. I tidied myself, drove home. Inside the foyer, stilettos lay tumbled like dice. Among them glared the Scarlett's old pair, gift I'd hinted at before our anniversary. I'd waited all day, then saw them on Brittany at Fulton Tech. I slammed the door. The crash cut short the bedroom acrobatics. He stalked out in a sheet, swearing. Aurora, psycho much? Way to kill the mood. A syrupy voice floated after him. President Fulton, who is it? He snorted, hooked an arm around Brittany's waist, and drawled, there, Aurora. He faced me, lip curled. Took you all night to buy condoms, useless. Where are they? No, are you okay? No, why are you soaked? I glanced down, pressed my lips, looked him dead on. Lost them. He sighed theatrically, smacked a kiss on Brittany. See? Our Tion thinks ahead, reward time. Brittany giggled up at him. President Fulton's unstoppable. We burned through everything I brought. I cut in, stomach churning. Blake, we need to talk. I held his gaze, measured and cold. Surprise flickered, he wasn't used to that tone. What? Brittany hugged his waist, pouted. Why can't I listen? I wanna hear. He tapped her nose. Sure. It's not like Aurora has anything important to say. I watched her triumph smirk and spoke. I want a divorce. He froze, then barked a laugh. Say that again? I glanced at Brittany, then back to him. This marriage is meaningless now. His face relaxed, he scoffed. Name your price. He fished his phone from crumpled pants, dialed. Divorce? Without me you're nothing. The call connected. Talk fast, I'll have Derek buy it. I enunciated every syllable. I want a divorce. He hurled the phone. Genteel mask gone, he seized my arm. Refuse a toast only to drink a forfeit, Aurora. Who'd want a washed-up stray like you? His grip tightened, my fingers tingled. I wrenched free, livid prints bloomed on my skin. I laughed. Washed up how, exactly? He panted. Aurora, He loomed, chest heaving. Remember, my family took you in. If not for your mom, I cut in, still smiling, I'd have died on the street. Dolores found me on my birthday. After the crash, uncle seized everything, promised a celebration. I wore my best dress, waited at Seaside's gate until nightfall, sobbing in a snowstorm. She wrapped me in her coat and carried me to the Fulton estate. His face purpled. He raised his hand, froze mid-swing. I arched a brow. Going to hit me, Mr. Fulton? I yanked the door open. Derek stood outside, clutching a boutique bag. Aurora, Mr. Fulton asked for these. Inside, the scarlet-soled stilettos, lacquer reflecting my blank face. Aurora! He exploded. You dare divorce me? He strode out, rage stalling when he spotted Derek. Derek, head back. We're handling private matters. He peeked into the bag, smug understanding dawning. He shoved it at me. Here, your shoes. Quit the drama, the staff is watching. Under Derek's worried gaze I lifted one pump, studied it, laughed, soundless, weary. He honestly believes he's generous. I tossed the shoes at his feet. Moron. I brushed past, tucking loose hair behind my ear. As his roar chased me I said over my shoulder, that's that, Mr. Fulton. I'll have my lawyer courier the divorce papers, kindly find a moment to sign. 5 years married to him, I had accompanied him from nothing to the helm of a listed company, my shadow in every smoke-filled bar where investors nursed glasses. The seed money that became Fulton Tech came from me dragging him, door to door, to every venture capital shark in Newport Beach. Yet his mask lasted only a month after the IPO, 30 days of applause, then he ushered Brittany through the front gate of the Fulton estate. The next morning the phone shrieked. I answered in a daze and his roar drilled into my ear. Aurora, where the hell are you? I held the cell at arm's length, let him rant, then said, Blake, I don't report my whereabouts to you anymore. After walking out yesterday I'd moved into my beachside studio on the forgotten edge of town, cheap rent and a postage stamp balcony wide enough for my beloved easel. I'd painted since grade school. Professor Whitaker once said the gods themselves spoon-fed me color. Exhibiting under the name Luna Lark, I sold every dreamy canvas within hours. Then heaven cracked a joke. Speeding home for my birthday, Mom and Dad were T-boned by a jackknife truck. The asphalt glittered with baby's breath and crushed tubes of oil paint, the gift they'd chosen for Honey. He refused to ink the divorce papers. My attorney relayed the message, embarrassed. The only signature he'll give is if I walk away with nothing. Predictable. After all, Dolores had once rescued me because my designer jeans advertised a fat reward from grateful parents. I called Professor Whitaker, whom I hadn't seen in years. He sighed with pride, the new canvases I'd mailed hadn't disappointed. Let's mount a gallery opening, he said. I asked him to take the reins and send the VIP passes himself. After Mom and Dad died, Uncle deliberately severed my contact with the professor. Later, when I mentioned painting to Dolores at the Fulton estate, she slapped me to the terracotta tiles. In front of gawking neighbors she jabbed a finger at my nose. We feed an ungrateful wretch like you and you dare fantasize about wasting money on oil paints? Burden of a girl. The Luna Lark show lured collectors from every moneyed zip code. He appeared at my door waving a ticket, irritation bristling off him. Aurora, are you done throwing your tantrum? He lifted the glossy rectangle. Didn't you beg to visit a gallery? Ever hear of Luna Lark? Seeing my eyes snag on the pass, he flicked it with a smirk. Fine, divorce is nothing. You hate Brittany? She won't cross the threshold again. I kept staring at the ticket, looking at his face churned my stomach. My fingers whitened on the door handle. Blake, spend that energy on the divorce papers instead. The door shut. He lingered, curses building like a wave until neighbors peered out. Pride intact, he kicked my panel once, crushed the ticket in his fist and stalked away. His hair-trigger temper is pure victor. Contradict him and he'll torch every bridge in sight. On opening night I waited outside for Professor Whitaker. Brittany glided over in snow-white silk, pressed polished fingers to her lips and swept me head to toe. Oh my, Aurora, hired as the greeter today? Beg and maybe I'll take you in as my +1. Each VIP pass entitled the holder to a guest, To be safe, I'd mailed one to him and one to Brittany. I said nothing. Certain she'd scored a point, she sailed inside wearing victory like perfume. When Professor Whitaker arrived, we entered together. After introducing me to half the room, he released me to the crowd, advising that I keep my identity secret until the finale and circulate as a mere buyer. I'd finished mentally pricing one canvas when I spun around and found Brittany inches away, eyes glittering with malice. "Aurora, stalking Blake so desperately you sneaked in?" Her stupidity still managed to shock me. I stepped past, she seized my wrist, checked the vicinity, then hissed into my ear. "Looks expensive, this painting, doesn't it?" A shriek tore from her throat as she lurched and flung her cocktail. I hesitated a beat, accepting the shower of vodka, but crimson drops still speckled the canvas behind me, Professor Whitaker's own award-winning piece on loan to add prestige. I apologized to the professor. Brittany was right, the painting was priceless. He brushed aside the damage, urging me to change clothes. Brittany's glance flicked between the elderly man and me, a knowing grin blooming. "So that's your backbone, Aurora? Found yourself a sugar patriarch?" She clicked her tongue. Though, goodness. Across the room his face had purpled, his lips shaped silent insults, eyes steeped in disgust. I laughed, really laughed, then sauntered off to change. Though Professor Whitaker had retired from the circuit decades ago, his name still thundered. Apparently his new money radar couldn't identify royalty. When I returned, Brittany was still shrieking, clutching the professor's lapel, demanding reimbursement for a droplet-stained skirt while Blake nodded, playing injured party. Fury and helplessness mottled the old man's cheeks. I lifted a full bottle from a passing tray, stepped to Brittany, and, under her triumphant stare, appended Cabernet over her head. She froze, then screamed like a klaxon. Wine rivers snaked through her salon-perfect hair, black mascara tributaries carving deltas down her cheeks, the white dress bloomed crimson roses. She was farce incarnate. "Aurora, have you lost your mind?" His bellow cracked across the marble. He hauled her against him, soothed her soggy hair, then pivoted to flame me with his glare. Watching him radiate hatred, I remembered investors humiliating me while he'd played the heartbroken spouse. "Aurora, I swear you'll never suffer again. I'll make you happy for life." That promise had not survived even a single orbit of the sun. Someone in the crowd recognized Blake and me. Their eyes locked on Blake and Brittany, wondering what drama was unfolding. "Blake, let's get divorced." Delight flitted across Brittany's face. Nestled in his arms, she smiled at me in triumph. He glared at me, clenched teeth bared, and snarled, "Aurora, you planned this from the start, didn't you? Without me, who would even know your name?" His sneering was cut short by Professor Whitaker. "Whose gallery opening do you think you're attending?" He froze, then snapped his head toward me. "Your Luna Lark?" When I stayed silent, he stammered, demanding why I'd hidden it. I didn't bother answering. I turned instead to apologize to the guests. I couldn't bear their stares. His face went white as he dragged Brittany out of the hall. A big investor had once adored Luna Lark's work, but by then her paintings had vanished from the market. I faked a month-long business trip, returned with a brand new Luna Lark canvas, and found a secretary named Brittany already inside Fulton Tech, glued to him. Only a handful of people knew Blake and I were married. Most employees believed we'd built Fulton Tech together as partners, never imagining I was also his wife. So the girls around me talked openly, speculating about him and Brittany right in front of me. When I confronted him, he swore the gossip was baseless, and to prove it, he transferred Brittany to another department. At first I managed to convince myself he was telling the truth, until rumor after rumor reached me, until explanation after identical explanation left his mouth, and finally, after I walked in on them tongue to tongue in the break room, my hope flatlined. News of Blake and Brittany crashing my gallery opening exploded online. The public tore into him for ditching the wife who'd stood by him since the beginning, the one crime affluent America can't stomach. Of course, my paid trolls helped fan those flames. He sat across from me, arms folded, sneering. "You got what you wanted, Aurora." His whole face blamed me. The divorce was my fault, entirely. And why not? Raised in a household dripping with machismo, he'd never been programmed to admit a mistake. In his mind, I hadn't been tolerant enough to coexist with Brittany. I hadn't been generous enough to hand over the company we'd built. Step by step we filed the papers. I refused his shares, demanding their cash value instead. He laughed at my short-sightedness, claiming I couldn't see Fulton Tech's glorious future, only immediate money. Watching that smug grin, I hoped he'd stay this arrogant forever. When I reached my gate that evening, I spotted a familiar figure. She spun around, eyes lighting up, then dropped to the pavement and wailed. Her cheeks were swollen, perfect fingerprints glowing red across them. Neighbors out for a stroll drifted over, and the woman ramped up the sobs. She cried that she'd treated Blake and me equally, cried that after raising us with all her heart, this was her reward. When the onlookers caught the name, she kept screaming. The murmurs grew louder. Dolores pressed her hands to her face and howled, but between her fingers her eyes glittered with glee. That's his mother? Making a scene like trailer trash. Does she want to bury him? How dare she show up? She's the abuser. Each comment reached Dolores's ears. She whipped her hands down, planted them on her hips, and shrieked at the crowd, "Who are you calling trailer trash?" She spun and jabbed a finger at me. This woman ruined my son and blackmailed him for a fortune. I studied her calmly. Time had erased every trace of the woman who once smiled and said she'd take me home. That woman had died long ago, smothered by domestic violence and greed. I spoke softly. "Aunt Dolores, the year you picked me up, didn't Uncle suddenly land a much better job?" Her rage froze. She hadn't expected me to drag up the past. I pressed on. "When you say you treated me the same as Blake, do you mean I only ever got what he threw away?" Panic flickered in her eyes. "As for college, didn't I pay my own tuition?" I smiled. "Oh, and his tuition too, right? I'd recorded every dollar, every cent." The moment I overheard Dolores and Victor demand hush money from Uncle, they stopped being kind rescuers. For a while after they brought me to the Fulton estate, they really had acted like parents. But visit after visit to the police station yielded no one looking for me, and their patience wore thinner each day. When did their attitude flip completely? The night Uncle called. They thought I was asleep, but terror of being abandoned kept me wide-eyed. The cheap handset crackled so loudly I caught every word. "Here's 200 grand, keep Aurora under your thumb. If she slips away, you'll face the consequences." Bullshit. Dolores howled, eyes bulging as she glared at me. "Enough," his voice cracked behind me. He stepped forward, shot his mother a murderous look, glanced at me, then turned to apologize to the neighbors. "Sorry for the disturbance." Without another word he yanked her away. Brittany was pregnant. She told me while I was packing up after a day-long gallery opening, patting a belly that didn't yet exist. Her eyes glowed with what people call maternal bliss, but when they met mine they shone with triumph. "Blake and I are getting married. You should come, witness our happiness." My gaze drifted to her stomach. She instinctively shielded it, a flicker of panic crossing her face before she smiled again. I smiled back. "I'll definitely prepare a grand gift." On wedding day, I arrived at the grand early, claiming a corner table to wait for the ceremony. The ballroom dripped luxury, far grander than anything at my own wedding. The minute we hit legal age, Blake hustled me to the courthouse, and I'd fantasized endlessly about a real ceremony. He wrapped an arm around me and promised, "Babe, I can't give you your dream wedding yet, but I'll make it up to you someday." I survived on that sugar-coated promise, until it starved me into the present. When every guest had settled, the MC announced the procession would begin, but the couple never appeared. A deafening crash erupted backstage, followed by a woman's scream. Guests leapt to their feet. I glanced back, unable to stop the grin blooming across my face. Brittany was an idiot, and her little boy toy even more so. A single anonymous VIP pass was all it took to bring him here. He dragged a struggling Brittany into the ballroom, gaze sweeping the crowd. I knew exactly who he was hunting. I deliberately knocked over my glass and ducked my head out of sight. Sure enough, Blake strode right past me, grabbed the guy by the collar, and snarled, "You dare touch my woman?" I quietly slid my chair back, surrendering the battleground. The two men crashed together in a brawl that yanked the cloth off the table, desserts, entrees, and all, leaving them streaked with chocolate mousse and beurre blanc. Brittany fluttered nearby, pleading, but when she reached in to separate them, a shove sent her sprawling against the upended table. She shrieked, clutching her belly in sudden pain. I watched the pool of red widen beneath her, blooming across the silk as she rolled, smearing herself with crimson frosting. He and the toy froze, then lunged for her at the same time. I couldn't hold back the laugh. His head snapped up at the sound. He stared at me, dead-eyed. "Those photos, was that you?" I smiled and nodded. "A wedding gift." Looks like you're enjoying it. Happy ever after. I turned to Brittany's parents and waved. Mr. and Mrs. Shaw, long time no see. Their faces were the color of wet cement. Uncle Shaw's hand trembled so violently I feared the bones might crack. Easy, Uncle. At your age a heart attack would be tragic. You still need to watch Brittany enjoy marital bliss, remember? I stepped closer. That day at Seaside, I know you slipped away on purpose. His eyes bulged, murky irises reflecting me like a funhouse mirror. I also know you told the Fultons to lock me up. I leaned in until my breath brushed his ear. Brittany's face, your exact copy. Repulsive. You're both thieves, coveting what isn't yours. Brittany and his spectacle of a wedding became Newport's favorite joke. He divorced me for Brittany, only to be cuckolded by her before the cake was cut. The Fulton estate sued Brittany's parents for damages, turning the fiasco into a citywide telenovela. The Shaws paid dearly, 7 figures and a daughter left behind. I heard they relocated overnight, abandoning Brittany at the mansion gates. Riley slapped the cafe table, doubled over with laughter, shoulders shaking. Once, for his sake, I had pushed away this best friend. When she stormed out I actually tried to explain that he was worth it. Aurora, she wheezed, karma's a bigger bitch than either of us. The next time I saw Brittany I barely recognized her. The meticulous gloss was gone, hair frizzed from neglect, face stripped of its Instagram mask contour. A month had aged her a decade. She spotted me, eyes flaring with hope, and started forward, only to be yanked back by a claw-like hand. Dolores stood there, fingers digging half-moons into Brittany's arm, hooded eyes glittering with ancient fury. Following Brittany's gaze, she caught sight of me. Her glare could have flayed skin. Ungrateful wretch. Burden of a girl, she spat, though the insults were meant for me. Brittany whimpered about her treatment. Dolores answered with a crack across the face. You dare complain, whore. She dragged the sobbing girl away, nails still anchored in flesh. I filed the daytime drama away and forgot it, until Blake showed up under my condo awning that night. Post-divorce, every channel to me was blocked, so he'd come to lurk like a stray tomcat. I almost felt sorry watching him step into my path. Honestly, the whole family's been auditioning for reality TV today. Aurora, his voice softened, eyes pleading with counterfeit warmth. Before the bile could spill further I cut in. Mr. Fulton, did we schedule a consultation? The rehearsed speech jammed in his throat. I rolled my eyes, sidestepped, and stayed just within camera range of the lobby CCTV. When he lunged I swayed clear. That was when I noticed the creased shirt, the red roadmap eyes, the 2-day stubble, everything his vanity normally outlawed. Aurora, the books are cooked. His voice cracked. Come back, just this once. You only need to. I lifted a hand, retreating until my back kissed the marble wall beneath the lens. Let me guess, I just have to charm investors, clink glasses, and swallow my dignity again? Hope flickered, I crushed it. And why would I? Because you cheated? Because we signed divorce papers? My fingers found the magnetic latch behind me. I slipped inside and let the door hiss shut, then pressed my smile to the glass. Besides, I'm the one who mailed the ledgers to the feds. Shock detonated across his face, followed by primal rage, transformation in under 30 seconds. He hammered the pane until blood dotted the frosted glass, finally hurling a trash can that clanged off the frame. Security rushed in, Blake swung, knocking the guard down, and kept swinging until sirens replaced shouts. Even cuffed he screamed through the windshield of the cruiser, Aurora, I will bury you. His empire didn't survive the audit. The anchor on the evening news recited the charges, tax evasion, bribery on municipal bids, while Fulton Tech's stock bled out on the ticker. Suddenly a woman barreled into the shot, yanking the reporter's sleeve. Aurora did this. My son never stole a cent, arrest her. Dolores collapsed on the courthouse steps, pounding the pavement. My poor boy, cursed by that witch. The reporter fled, the live feed cut to traffic. He had wanted a dynasty, but every cousin clamoring for a seat on the board cared only about the last scrap of dividend I'd left them. I had warned him. Victor rallied the clan to accuse me of a power grab, and, astonishingly, Blake believed them. When the colleagues I'd mentored began texting horror stories, I knew Fulton Tech's days were numbered. The day he was led away in cuffs my phone lit up with celebratory emojis from inside the hollowed-out headquarters. His company couldn't outrun the subpoenas. My art, on the other hand, was just beginning to breathe. His parents came to my place raising hell every single day. After I called the cops a few times, they quieted down, but Dolores still kept vigil beneath my building. Riley worried about me, and when I refused to move, she showed up with suitcases and moved right in. I kept thinking it over, and I just can't relax unless I'm here with you. Fulton Tech was padlocked, and the Fultons scraped together every loose dollar just to plug the hole. Thanks to Dolores's daily sidewalk tears, I could track exactly how the disaster was unfolding. She poured out the injustice of fate to every passerby, wailing that the daughter they'd raised now cut them to the bone. At first a few people slowed to listen, but soon they stepped around her like she was air. Brittany was mortified. She hovered on the curb, trying to stay distant, only to have Dolores grab her by the hair and drag her back, igniting another wild tug-of-war for an audience. Finally, after I watched one of these hair-pulling scenes once too often, Brittany snapped. She wrenched free, shoved Dolores hard, spat on the sprawled woman, slammed past me, and ran. Dolores's eyes locked on me, her breath rasping, her face white. Victor hadn't shown his face since the day I dialed 911, probably too ashamed. Only Dolores persisted, staking the sidewalk below with Brittany in tow. When Riley came to pick me up and saw her crumpled there, she gasped, thumbed 911 for an ambulance, and tugged at my sleeve. "Aurora, leave her. She'll sue you for every cent." Desperation flashed across Dolores's stare. I stood motionless, until the paramedics lifted her away. After the gallery opening, collectors who'd come for a look slapped down deposits on the spot. On Professor Whitaker's advice, I opened a studio of my own, and set to work on a competition piece. He walked into my loft studio, just as I placed the final touch of oil paint. Mom and Dad beamed up from the canvas. My eyes welled. I had been painting that family portrait the day their car was crushed, and when the news came I slashed the canvas, because every unfinished smile accused me, as though my hurry had steered them into the crash. I could finally honor the faces I still carry in my head. In the new painting they hold my hands and laugh, baby's breath blooming like a cloud behind us. "Aurora, looks like life's treating you well," came his low growl from behind. Every hair on my neck stood up. I spun around. He hadn't changed his clothes from that night. "Sprung from jail and come straight here." I packed my brushes and turned to him. "What do you want?" He barked a laugh. "What do I want?" He snickered, then barked. "Plenty. You ruined me, and you think you'll sail off into some perfect sunset?" I flicked my gaze to the ceiling camera and fired back. "Ruined you? Or did you do the wrecking yourself?" His eyes glazed. He kept talking to the air. "You set me up from that gala, humiliated me, divorced me, mailed me shots of Brittany cheating on my wedding day, drove me crazy." He pinned me with a stare. "You flew the guy she slept with to the Grand, just to watch us fight, right? You always knew Fulton Tech's books were cooked, so you took only cash in the divorce, banking on the rest being looted by my own crew without telling me? Look, Aurora, step by step you torched my life, who else should I come for?" The tirade was almost comic. I glanced at the camera again and answered, "Blake, you're the one who slept with Brittany and paraded her under my roof, smashed your own wedding when you lost your temper, forced Fulton Tech into a family firm and packed it with every cousin you've got. Tell me, which part of that is my fault?" His face twisted, a knife flashed from behind his back and he closed in. "You reported me, got my company shuttered, and my mom had to borrow from sharks. My life is over, Aurora, so yours ends now. Die." I sidestepped the blade, snatched the still life face, and cracked it across his skull. He froze, then crashed face first to the concrete. I planted my foot between his shoulders and smiled down at his thrashing body. "Too long in lockup, Mr. Fulton, brains must have gone soft. Did you really think I'd come unprepared?" Riley pushed in with 2 patrol officers, rushed over, and hugged me tight, trembling. "Aurora, you scared me to death." I'd known he would hunt me the moment bail was refused. I had texted Riley in advance, and I had tapped my smartwatch the second he appeared. Once she nudged the lobby camera, our prearranged message received, I began needling him on purpose. Every lunge was caught in HD. When the cops cuffed him I handed over the clip and said, "Blake, right to this very minute, you're still the author of your own downfall." Charged with attempted aggravated assault, he was hauled back to jail, this time with no rich parents to post bond. Word is the second he stepped outside on release day a loan shark crew dragged him away. Nobody's heard a whisper since. Victor vanished after Brittany shoved Dolores and landed her in neuro ICU. Brittany herself now wears orange for aggravated battery. while Dolores, her head smacked against the curb, suffered a brain bleed. They got her to surgery fast, but the damage left its mark. Watching the woman in the hospital bed blink at me in innocent curiosity, the doctor beside me sighed. She woke up like this. "No next of kin, admin begged us to call you." The woman seized my hand and whispered, "Sweetie, all alone? Come home with Auntie." I signed her out, found a quiet place at sunset, and tucked her in. My painting took the Silver Chalice Award. I polished the trophy until it gleamed, and set it beside the portrait of Mom and Dad. My phone buzzed insistently. Riley's bright voice burst through. "Aurora, hurry up. I'm right outside." I laughed and told her I was coming. I stepped out, looked up at her waving silhouette, and, I swear, life had never looked this wide open. Thanks for listening to today's story. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate it? If you enjoyed this video, please like and share it with friends. We can't wait to read your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe for more gripping tales. See you next time. At the governor's, the spotlight landed on the engagement ring around my finger and every camera in the room locked on. The host asked, sly and smiling, whether something happy was on the horizon. I ran my thumb over the diamond and answered, yes, on the 5th of early fall. Within minutes, Sabrina and Jamie hit #1 on the trending list. Friends and fans showered us with congratulations. Jamie's call came fast. The instant I picked up, his voice exploded through the speaker. "Serena, we agreed to hold off on marriage." Cornering me on live TV, what kind of stunt was that? I answered coolly, marry or don't marry, your choice. What my fiancé and I do is none of your business. 13 years together, and he'd already shifted his heart elsewhere. Sure, I was too blind to notice. So it was time to draw the final line. A television trophy is the highest honor the Guild can give. When the Jumbotron flashed Serena, 11 grinding years finally crystallized into applause. I walked to the stage lightheaded, every eye on me, and delivered a fierce acceptance speech. I was turning to leave when the host called me back. "Today the great screenwriter is wearing a diamond on her left ring finger. Am I smelling wedding bells?" Camera swung, photographers pushed in for a close-up, and every gaze pinned itself to that glint of stone. I smiled straight into the lens. Circle the 5th of September. The host widened his eyes in mock shock, offered florid wishes, and let me go. Back in my seat, my phone buzzed. Twitter, Serena and Jamie, trending. Jamie rang again, voice dripping accusation. "We said no wedding talk yet." Ambushing me on stage, really? I kept my tone flat. "Your plans aren't mine." A stunned silence, then a thin laugh. "Don't dream this stunt will make me cave. I have lines I won't cross." "Understood," I said, still icy. "Then tweet right now, say the marriage thing is fake. Don't drag both our careers down." I hung up without reply. Texts of congratulations from friends and fans kept rolling in. Everyone toasted the happy ending of Serena and Jamie, lovers at last made official. We'd been together since 17, for 13 years. High school dreamers who both got into the same elite film school, he for acting, me for screenwriting. After graduation we stormed Hollywood side by side, me an unknown showrunner, him a background actor hustling for one-liners. 13 years of clawing upward got us here, him a freshly crowned best actor, me the award-winning writer. Our love story had become industry legend, the couple everyone called relationship goals. I'd asked Jamie more than once, 13 years and counting, shouldn't we set a date? He always answered, not the right moment. But I already knew the boy who once promised forever had traded his heart away. I opened Twitter and typed, right where I'm meant to be. The photo I attached was a silhouette shot of two shadows. Reddit-style sleuths instantly zoomed in, screaming that the outline didn't match Jamie. My comment section detonated. One fan posted, "Sis, that's not Jamie in the pic, right?" I replied, "Correct." That single word broke the internet. And it broke Jamie. After the governors ended, I headed to the sub-basement garage. Jamie yanked my arm before I could open the car door. Eyes bloodshot, he hissed, "Explain that tweet, Serena. You dare betray me and marry someone else?" I looked at the man who now felt like a stranger and enunciated every syllable. "We broke up 6 months ago, Riley." 6 months earlier, I'd visited Jamie on set and stood outside his trailer while he talked to rising ingenue Lila. Lila's voice was honeyed curiosity chase, inviting me to your hotel to run lines. "Your girlfriend of 13 years won't mind? I know you two are the golden couple." Late night script session, I knew the code. My hand froze on the door handle, waiting for his answer. Jamie sighed, 13 years with Sabrina? I'm bored. We're too alike. How can a man live with a woman who's gone before dawn and back after midnight? We just prop each other up these days, he went on. The love died a long time ago. My heart stopped for a beat. So I'd become deadweight he tolerated for optics. Truthfully, the signs had littered the road since his career exploded. He'd grown erratic, brittle. Hollywood will swallow any star who relaxes. I'd made excuses, told myself pressure warped him. I never opened that trailer door. I turned and left. Word of my visit reached him anyway. That night he came home bristling with justification. Sabrina, Lila, and I were only rehearsing. You're a writer, don't overthink. I shot scenes for 14 hours and still raced home to calm you down. Confronting the impatience on his face, I finally saw the gulf between us. He'd evolved from anonymous background actor to the guy every director fought to sign, scripts piled high on his desk. Jamie, I'm not a naive kid. That excuse? Not buying. He grabbed my wrist. Everything I said to her was PR. Her uncle's a big-name director, an intro and my quote skyrockets. Status, 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 the word tasted rancid. I shook off his hand. My disgust stoked his sneer. Calmly I said, we're drifting apart. Let's take a break and think. Jamie froze, then forced a brittle laugh. Break? Fine, let's skip the pause and just end it. The relief in his voice, the sudden repulsion in his eyes, told me this ending had loomed a long while. Better now than later. 13 years of devotion already felt like a punchline. We said the words together, agreed, and I packed my life out of our place. A few nights later I picked up a call from an unknown number, afraid it might be work, and heard Alex's voice. Jamie, you really broke up with Sabrina? It was definitely Alex. Jamie laughed, lazy and careless. Yep, I dumped her. If I hadn't, how could we be sitting here running lines together? Jamie, stop, you're hurting me, Alex cooed. I knew the call was a setup, dialed purely to taunt me. Babe, do you know the difference between you and Sabrina? Jamie teased. What is it? Alex asked. You know how to play fragile, how to listen, how to be sweet. I didn't listen to another syllable. When the line went dead I stared at my reflection and finally understood. Maybe Jamie hadn't drifted because Alex appeared. Maybe I simply wasn't the kind of girl who needs a boyfriend's protection. Just like he'd said, our personalities were too alike, too driven, jagged stones that crash and end up cracked. So there would have been an Alex, a Beth, a Kara. It looked as though, between love and career, I was built for the grind. Weeks passed and the blogs buzzed with Jamie and Alex gossip, gifts swapped, flirty behind-the-scenes clips. Fans brushed it off as promo for their new project. I didn't waste a second on it, I numbed myself with work. Nothing mattered but the next paycheck. 6 months went by without a word between Jamie and me. Later, I overdid it at a studio dinner. The wine sat like acid, so I bailed early, called a car to the sub-basement garage, ran into a man, and ended up sleeping with him. He insisted on taking responsibility and, right there, proposed. I said yes. I just never expected an interviewer to ambush me about it on the red carpet. Sabrina, have you lost your mind? You dared to dump me. Jamie's snarl yanked me back to the present. Facing his flushed outrage, I shot back, weren't you the one who broke up with me? And why on earth can't I walk away? He froze, probably shocked that the throwaway line he'd spat in anger had become final. Then his mouth curled into an it doesn't matter smirk. Fine, we're done. Don't come crawling back, first one to bend is the loser's dog. He yanked out his phone and posted on Twitter, thanks to everyone who's reached out. Sabrina and I have been buried in projects, barely saw each other, and actually split 6 months ago. I tried, but in the end I respect the woman I loved. Emery, once I wished us happiness, now I wish it for you. In 4 short lines he pinned the breakup on me to keep his loyal heart image intact. His comment section flooded with fans cursing me and babying him. Even heartbreak had to be monetized. Disgusting. Hands in pockets, he looked down at me like he owned the board. Sabrina, you can still apologize. After all, you just won the big award. I rolled my eyes, seeing him clearly at last. Jamie, are you begging me to take you back? So eager to be the dog already? You think you're the last man on earth and I have to marry you? The next second he clamped my wrist and slammed me against the car door. I yelped and warned him to let go. He only squeezed harder, revenge for the breakup. A tall man in a tailored suit strode over, shoved Jamie aside, and shielded me. "Julian?" Jamie barked, brows knitting. "This is between me and my girlfriend, mind your own business," Julian said evenly. "Didn't you already release a breakup statement?" Then he turned, stepped to my side, and laced his fingers through mine. "What's this supposed to mean?" Jamie gaped, jabbing a finger at our hands. Julian ignored him and searched my face. "Sabrina, are you okay?" "Sabrina, what exactly is your relationship?" Jamie's fists balled at his sides, jaw clenched, eyes spitting fire. Just as he was about to explode, a pack of entertainment reporters burst in and ringed us, and Jamie's expression flipped like a switch. Microphones flew at me. "Emery, is Julian your fiancé? Emery, was your split from Jamie clean or was someone else involved?" Jamie stepped forward, gaze dripping tenderness. "Sabrina, I couldn't give you the time you deserved. I wish you happiness." His vague little line only fed the gossip machine. I gripped Julian's hand and faced the lenses. "As you can see, Julian is my fiancé. Jamie and I ended things 6 months ago. I met Julian 2 months later and accepted his proposal." Julian added, 5th of September, everyone's invited to Serena's and my wedding." Reporters kept firing questions, but Julian bundled me into the car, jumped behind the wheel, and sped off. Soon the tag "new top-tier star and ace showrunner" hit the trending list. Inside the car our breathing sounded louder than traffic. To cut the tension I blurted, I have no idea why the host brought it up tonight." "It's fine," Julian said softly. "I'm happy you went public. We were engaged, but still practically strangers." I dreaded the reveal. Our meeting had been messy, he felt honor-bound, and I didn't want to derail his career. The clash with Jamie replayed in my head, how quickly honey sours into venom. "Still upset?" Julian murmured. I snapped out of it. "We were parked." I nodded honestly. He cupped my cheek. "Don't let people who don't matter rob you of your mood." Before I could answer he cradled my chin and kissed me. Shock froze me. His lips tasted faintly of mint and tobacco, gentle, testing, and the moment melted the anger out of me. My body went lax as I followed his lead, the kiss deepening until he finally pulled away, leaving my cheeks on fire. He brushed my hair back. "Hungry? Dinner's waiting upstairs." Julian stepped out of the car first and opened my door like a gentleman. I asked, puzzled, "You ordered takeout?" He took my hand. "I cooked it myself." I stared at him, stunned. "You actually know how to cook?" Julian smiled. "Sabrina, I'm a very good cook." I could hardly believe an A-list leading man could cook. "You don't believe me?" Julian read my doubt and teased me right back. I laughed and shook my head. "Just surprised, that's all." He chuckled. "Sabrina, I've got plenty of surprises you don't know about." "That's okay," I said. "We have all the time in the world, you can show me slowly." This was Julian's penthouse, perched above the city's CBD, the skyline glittering at our feet from the balcony. I had accepted his proposal, but we'd both been swamped, we barely saw each other. When he suggested I move in, I'd said no at first. He argued that we were going to be husband and wife, we had to start learning each other's rhythms. He made sense, so I'd agreed. Today was move-in day, officially. Honestly, my feelings were a tangle. I'd broken up with Jamie and finally seen him for what he was, yet memories still ambushed me. Every time I'd brought up marriage with Jamie he'd waved it off, claiming work. Truth was, he simply hadn't wanted to marry me. I looked at the table, every dish was something I loved, and shot Julian an incredulous glance. He smiled. Knowing what my future wife loves is part of the job description. I couldn't help laughing. For the first time it hit me how solid this man felt. We both work in the industry, but our paths had never crossed. I'd only watched his shows and interviews. "He's everywhere, your friends can't stop talking about him. He never trained at drama school, comes from serious money, and not a single scandal trails him. No kissing scenes, ever. My friends joke that he's only dabbling in Hollywood for the experience." He lifted his glass. "Sabrina, congratulations on Best Screenplay." "Ellis," I replied, clinking his goblet, and we drained the wine. A few refills later the room blurred. Julian stood across from me in a crisp white shirt, lamplight skimming the clean line of his shoulders as he cut my steak with the same focus he brings to a camera. No denying it, competence is sexy. Probably the alcohol, but I stared without blinking. "Sabrina," he said suddenly, "don't look at a man like that unless you mean it." I flushed and dropped my gaze. "Sorry, He closed warm fingers around my wrist, tugged me onto his lap, and anchored a hand at my waist. What I meant was, he murmured, voice rough, when you do that, I can't be held responsible. My cheeks burned. Feeling reckless, I hooked my arms around his neck and grinned. What do you do on set when you can't be held responsible? That depends, he said. The women I act with are only coworkers. You're my fiancé, softly he asked. So, fiancé, how's the food? Oh, delicious, I answered, blank. Full? Stuffed. I had no clue why he was quizzing me, until he supplied the answer himself. If Sabrina likes it, shouldn't she reward the chef? He scooped me up and strode toward the bedroom. By the time I caught my breath, I was flat on the mattress and he was covering me. I pressed on his chest. Wait, I haven't showered. I thought he'd retreat. Instead he said, then we'll shower together. Round 2 happened in a tub big enough for a crew, wine giving us courage, water churning like we were the storm. I lost track of time, ending up draped over the porcelain rim. I was panting. Julian looked ready for overtime. He slid through the water, curled an arm around my waist, and pulled me against him. I rested on his shoulder, studying his unfairly perfect face, and couldn't resist kissing his cheek. Instant regret. Stop. I blurted. He frowned. Sabrina, you started it. We're still in the tub. I squeaked. He stood, yanked an oversized towel off the rack, and wrapped me like I was fragile cargo. Absolutely, he whispered, the tub limits us. Let's relocate. That is not what I'd meant. How did he twist my words? He laid me on the bed as if I were made of glass and hovered above me. Happy? Happy didn't cover it, I nodded, shy but honest. Then marry me? He asked out of nowhere. I blinked. You already asked. Ask again, he said, voice low. Tell me, Sabrina, right now. I looked straight into his eyes. Julian, Sabrina, want to marry you, no regrets. Approval flashed across his face. He lowered himself, repeating I love you until I passed out in his arms somewhere before dawn. I woke after noon, body a loose pile of bones. The bed beside me was empty. You're up? Julian walked in and reached for me. Let me carry you to the bathroom. Last night had been wild. I flinched. I can manage, really. He smiled. Fine. I'm making congee, it'll be ready soon. He disappeared. I hustled through a shower and padded out. He was still stirring the pot, so I sat stiffly on the sofa. A picture frame lay face down on the coffee table. I righted it, and froze. The photo was me, high school me, ponytail, microphone, award ceremony grin, confidence leaking out of every pore. I remembered that statewide speech contest sophomore year. How on earth did Julian have this shot? Sabrina, breakfast, he called, carrying bowls. I couldn't let the frame go. I turned slowly, meeting his eyes. I needed an explanation. We locked gazes. He noticed the photo in my hands. His smile faded as he set the bowls down and came toward me. My secret, he said, eyes locked on mine, voice soft, you finally found it. I stared back, lost. Secret? What secret? His hands tightened around mine. 15 years ago, I fell in love with you at first sight. Huh? I gaped, certain I'd misheard. I'd never even met Julian back then. You were at the statewide speech contest, standing on that stage, talking with total confidence, radiating light. I fell for the girl who couldn't stop smiling. My cousin went to your school, so I kept tabs on you through her. High school workload was insane. I didn't dare interrupt your life, but I watched from a distance. I picked a college right near your high school, planning to confess once you graduated. Then senior year you started dating Jamie. He treated you well, so I backed off. I left the country for grad school. 2 years ago, when I heard you and Jamie were on the rocks, I flew home. I wanted my chance, but you still hadn't broken up, so I stepped into your world, became an actor just to get you to notice me. I've waited almost 15 years. The day you split with Jamie, I finally got to chase you in the open. My head spun, I could barely breathe. Julian and I had a history I never knew existed. So, our first meeting? I asked, the memory suddenly urgent. The producer who took you to dinner drugged your drink, so, now it made sense. I can usually hold my liquor, yet one glass that night had left me burning and dizzy. A week later that same producer was arrested for tax evasion charges. Julian slid his arms around my waist and tilted his forehead to mine. Serena, since you never saw me down on the ground, I decided to become a star blazing overhead, somewhere your eyes would finally rest. Looking into his unguarded face, I thought of Jamie's betrayal. When a man offers his heart, the gesture looks the same, a question mark should follow. Yet something inside me whispered that maybe, just maybe, I could believe again. I've got the press event for my new era drama tonight, he said. Come with me? As your fiancé. His gaze was steady, earnest. I smiled. If I said no, would it sting? He laughed softly. Not at all. What you want matters most. That was the difference, Julian asked. Jamie, once the trophies piled up, had started issuing orders. How could I refuse someone this honest? Cameron, I'd be honored to walk in as your fiancé, I answered. Surprise flickered across his face, then he laughed low and reeled me in, murmuring against my hair, Serena, meeting you was my luck, being with you is grace. Serena, LSU. A man's sincerity is something you feel. I curved my mouth into a grin. Julian, I'm happy I finally met you too. Julian headlines the new era drama as the lead, a prestige male-centric boardroom saga with a powerhouse cast and veteran crew. Industry buzz calls it the next awards magnet. When we arrive, the ballroom is already packed. Director Chen, whom I've known since my first staffed show, spots us and beams. Julian, Serena, congrats, you too. Soon congratulations swirl around us like confetti. The event kicks off. I settle in the front row, watching center stage Julian absorb the panel hype. Q.A closes the presentation. A reporter lifts a mic. Mr. Sterling, with the wedding around the corner, where will your focus land next? Julian straightens. Actually, I have an announcement. The room stills, including me. He says, effective today, I'm retiring from acting. Gasps ripple, cameras flash. Nobody saw that curveball. Reporters scramble. Mr. Sterling, why quit? You're peaking. After this show, offers will flood in. What gives? Tell us the real reason. Julian's eyes find mine across the sea of seats. I entered this industry for one person, he says. And I've won her. Every head swivels toward me. I'm frozen. Julian strides down the step and repeat, drops to one knee, and lifts a ring box. The lid flips, a diamond even vaster than the first. Ms. Vance, he asks, will you marry me? Tears blur my vision. Didn't you already propose? This time I want the world watching, he answers, voice steady, so everyone knows you're it for me. I laugh through the waterworks and extend my hand, just then realizing why he'd made me leave the other ring at home. He slides the new band into place, kisses my knuckles, and rises. I grip his lapels. Julian, I love you. Serena, I love you so damn much, he says, then cups my face and kisses me hard. Of course we claim the #1 trending slot. Afterward I swing by my penthouse for a weekend bag, scrolling Twitter in the car. Praise, snark, emojis, equal parts sugar and acid. You walked away from a superstar career for me, no regrets? I ask, throat tight. He shrugs. I came for you, I stay for you. Chasing anything else would dilute that. His tone turns playful. Besides, I've got a corporation to run. Me, I only need a few things, so Julian waits in the sub-basement garage. Bag in hand, I lock up, and Jamie lunges from the stairwell. His sudden appearance jolts me, but I sidestep toward the elevator, planning to ignore him. Jamie catches my wrist, blocking my path. Serena, where the hell are you moving? He demands, fury crackling in his eyes. This has nothing to do with you. Let me go. I stared at him coldly, voice flat. He didn't let go. So it's true, you're really with Julian? Haven't you checked Twitter? You think I'd fake that? I shot back, yanking my arm free. Jamie tugged one corner of his mouth into a smirk, eyes locked on me. Serena, I never said I wouldn't marry you. Just so you could snag a husband, you're willing to grab the first guy you see? Listen to him, every time he opens his mouth I discover a new low. We broke up ages ago. Who I marry is none of your business, I reminded him. I'm sorry, Serena. I lost my temper. Suddenly his whole posture crumbled. If you want a wedding, don't settle for just anyone. I'll marry you, right now. Go tell the press we staged the thing with Julian to test me, and then we'll walk down the aisle. Okay? Looking at his shameless face, I wanted to slap him into next week, but I held back. Jamie, Julian isn't just anyone. He's the man I chose, eyes wide open. I said it quietly, every word steady. Jamie's temper flared. He pinned me to the wall, towering over me, teeth clenched. Serena, were you already screwing him? Is that why you finally agreed to split? Jamie, have you lost your mind? Do you even hear yourself? My eyes went wide, I fought to keep from screaming. He sneered. See? You're mad, I hit the bullseye. When we fought before, you begged me to stay. The second I mention a break this time you jump. You'd already lined up your next bed, hadn't you? We've lived in different universes for a long time. I didn't bother explaining, I just answered, think whatever you want. Great, so you admit it. His jaw tightened. You're mine. He moved to force a kiss. I shoved him hard. Jamie, I swear I'll call the cops. I'm kissing my girlfriend, what crime is that? He clamped my wrists. I thrashed, desperate not to let his lips touch me. Jamie, get off. Just as he almost succeeded, a fist smashed into his cheek and he crashed to the floor. Julian, my Julian, stood over him. I darted behind him. Julian's face was thunder. You didn't treasure her. Someone else will. Jamie wiped blood from his lip, hatred blazing first at Julian, then at me. Serena, sure he'll keep wanting you forever? I squeezed Julian's hand. He's wanted me for 15 years, longer than you ever did. Jamie froze, then curled his lip. Fine. Don't come crying later. I smiled. I won't, because I trust him. Jamie had nothing left. Before we left, Julian told him, you laid hands on my fiancé. I'm not finished with that. Back in the car I asked, why'd you come up? You didn't come down, I got scared. Serena, I'm not Jamie. I'll treat you right. I'll cherish you. I grinned. If you ever betray me, I'll still walk, no hesitation. He pulled me close and whispered against my hair, I'll never give you a reason to leave. Only later did I learn Julian is the famous heir to Sterling Media, straight-up royalty. The 5th of September became our wedding day. It was opulent, Sterling partners, everyone in the industry who still liked me. Even Jamie showed. I was terrified he'd make a scene, but Julian said a guest is a guest, my living security detail. I'd stopped writing to plan the ceremony. Gossip drifted in, Jamie caught sneaking into a hotel at 3 a.m. with Alex, his curating sliding. None of it concerned me anymore. We stepped into the aisle, spoke our vows under the officiant, slid rings onto each other's fingers, drank the unity toast. After the recessional, guests filed to dinner. I slipped out of my gown. When I came back Jamie was waiting. Gone was the leading man gloss, he looked hollowed out. Jamie, today is my wedding, I murmured. I know, he cut in. I only came to say goodbye, and congratulations. If I'd kept my zipper shut, I'd be the groom. He exhaled, long and defeated. I lifted one shoulder. No such word as if. Even rewound, you'd make the same choices. Color rose in his cheeks, he dropped his gaze. Be happy, Serena. Stay for dinner, I offered. He shook his head. I've got to go. He turned and walked away. I watched until he disappeared, the last thread of resentment dissolving. 7 days later headlines screamed, Jamie, tax evasion charges, federal penitentiary. The actor who once lit up Southland screens was now just a case file. After our Maldives honeymoon I dove back into work and birthed Red, Dylan, about a woman who falls, drowns in love, then claws her way back into the light. Women can believe in love, but we must guard our bottom line, and yes, may every one of us find the kind that lifts. 3 years later I was an internationally bankable showrunner. Directors fought for meetings. One night I trudged home and found Julian in the kitchen whipping up my favorite dinner. He lifted his wineglass. I laughed and waved it away. 2-year alcohol hiatus starting now. Alarm flashed across his face. Are you sick? I laid a hand over my belly. Congratulations, Daddy. Julian beamed like a kid on Christmas morning. Our cozy duet is about to become a trio. Thanks for listening. On a 1 to 10 scale, how would you rate this story? If you liked it, hit like and share with friends. Tell us your thoughts below, and don't forget to subscribe for more tales. See you next time. I had nothing better to do, so I swung by the flower and bird market and picked up Vance's yellow canary. I'd barely gotten the cage settled when Best rang, voice dripping gossip. Heard you've been hiding Vance's canary on the side. Must be seriously hung if you're keeping him under wraps. I pictured the chubby little fluff in the cage and answered honestly, Tiny. Best gasped, Tiny, and you still keep him? Your tastes are wild. I was genuinely confused. What's wrong with Tiny? I like that model. Vance shriek burst from the phone. So that's your type. No wonder you and my brother are not. Turns out he's too, huh? I was speechless. The girl can turn any topic, black, white, or neutral, into neon porn. Before I could explain, my phone was snatched away and the call killed. I spun around. Julian stood against the light, sunset slicing his tall frame into Vance's razor-sharp silhouette. From my angle, the suit, the jawline, the everything was stupidly gorgeous. While I blinked, he leaned in. Eyes locked on mine. So you like my finger, huh? My face combusted. I couldn't help staring at his long fingers. In Vance's blink, flashbacks flooded in. I pressed my knees together. When I stayed silent, he came closer. Your canary. Forget it, I don't want to hear. I didn't even get Vance's syllable out before he crashed his mouth onto mine. Then switched to Vance's bite. Half temper tantrum, half punishment. Julian, what are you, Vance's rabid dog? I slapped Vance's hand over my swollen, stinging lip and shoved his chest, didn't budge. He stepped closer instead. I felt the assault, the ache, and squeaked, stop, I haven't showered. Julian laughed, straightened, and tugged his tie loose with one hand. The move was criminal-level sexy. I swallowed hard. Then I noticed, his eyes were faintly red, the pupils tunnel-deep in Vance's way I'd never seen. I shrank into the sofa corner, panic fluttering. He watched me, calm as ever. Sabrina, I'm about to do something completely out of line. I'm sorry, but I can't stop myself. I blinked, out of line how? Next second, I had the answer. He pinned me to the couch and trussed my wrists with his tie. 2 years of marriage. I'd never met this version. All I could think was tomorrow's headlines. Today on crime shows, billionaire husband murders wife. Panicking, I yelled, murder's illegal. We're married. If I've done something wrong, just say it, don't go full homicidal. He chuckled. Warm breath grazed my ear, voice low. Baby, your imagination is adorable. He started unbuttoning his shirt. I stammered in terror, what are you planning? Gonna smother me with your shirt? I know you're Vance's neat freak, but Vance's canary isn't Vance's capital offense. And I parked him at the Westside Villa, he'll never shed under your roof. The temperature in the room nosedived. Julian lifted his gaze, Adam's apple dropping hard. Then, while I braced for carnage, he kissed me again. Turned out Julian's out of line was galaxies past the line. I never imagined he was the do first, listen never, stop never brand. Wasn't he the icy gentleman husband? Wasn't he the standoffish CEO? Wasn't bedroom activity always polite and punctual? Lies. All lies. I was half numb, practically short-circuited, and he still had rocket fuel left. He even wiggled Vance's new dress onto me. Baby, didn't you beg to intern as my secretary? Let's test run this pencil skirt suit. I glanced down, my original outfit was crumpled, smeared, ruined. Fury flared, but my voice came out sandpaper, get lost. I thrashed. Julian quit persuading, laid the suit on the carpet, and stalked forward. He knelt at the bedside, lifted my tie-reddened wrist, and kissed the welt-like prayer read. I twisted away, not feeding his mania. He murmured to himself, first time, rookie mistake. Next round I'll use silk, better on skin. I barked. Vance laughed. Next round? In your dreams. He only smiled, then answered with heat, his mouth closing over the red stripe. Warm, ticklish. I begged, itches, seriously, stop. Julian tilted his head, serious all of Vance sudden. You stashed him at the Westside Villa? Means you don't love him that much. After the night you've had, even if you visit tomorrow you'll be wrecked, nothing's gonna happen, right? So all this time, Julian thought my canary was Vance's toy boy. True, I own Vance's canary. Vance bird, not man. At that instant, I decided, no explanations. Because Julian is Vance's closet psycho. If not for this screw-up, I'd never hear him call me baby or see him unravel like this. Our marriage is arranged. After grad school, I attended Vance's gala and met him. One look, done deal. He worked the old shark crowd with glacier-cool grace. When he left his phone, I volunteered courier service. Outside the restroom, he was smoking. Backlit haze, perfect loneliness, hook, line, sinker. He washed up, spotted me, and strolled over, half smile, half smoke. Heartbeat, sprint. Bonus, damp white shirt plastered to his abs. I gulped. He followed my stare, accepted his phone. You brought this? Lifesaver, I lose everything. I nodded, statue mode. Soaked fabric outlined every ridge. Maybe my gaze sizzled. He gave an awkward smile. Sorry, shirt suicide at the sink. Then, unhurried, he buttoned his jacket, one deliberate clasp after another. Refined, aloof, pure East Coast magnetism I'd never met overseas. I vowed, he will be mine. 6 months of shameless pursuit later, mission accomplished. When I woke again, Julian's side of the bed was empty. I opened WhatsApp. His messages were still unread. Sorry about last night, lost. Emergency business, back in 2 weeks. I stared at the screen and smiled, fingers tapping then deleting, until I finally answered with Vance flat K. On purpose. Who told him to go spiraling without asking, then think sorry makes it go away? When I stood, my legs buckled and I almost hit the floor. I grabbed the nightstand, muttered jerk, and spotted Vance's tiny tube of ointment. Vance's sticky note lay under it in Julian's handwriting, clean and strong. Already ointment, reapply to your wrist at lunch, keep it dry. Pretty thoughtful for him. I carried the tube to the vanity and dabbed red in the glass. The woman in the mirror still had flushed eyes, swollen lips, faint bruises blooming along her throat, Julian's late-night evidence. In 2 years of marriage and 6 months of my chasing, I'd never seen him lost like that. Before, in bed or out, he stayed polite, restrained, kisses measured. As if I were only the arranged duty, never the beloved. But last night, the possessive in his eyes, the panic in his voice, the way he kissed the red on my wrist like Vance's prayer, everything scorched me. So the man does have another gear. And the trigger was Vance's bird. My phone kept dinging. The housekeeper at the West Estate cottage had sent shots of the canary, plump golden feathers, head cocked as it nibbled its own claw. Utterly adorable. Pity I can't keep it here. Julian's Vance neat freak. No extra creatures allowed indoors. I flipped through the photos, grinning, and whipped up Vance's post. Got my canary late, should have done it sooner for the free joy. If Julian misunderstood, fine. Let him wonder. He'd woken up and flown off on business for 2 weeks, as if I don't know how to play too. At noon best Letitia summoned me for lunch. I grabbed my bag and went. Your Majesty, you march in here flaunting red. Aren't you bullying your queen and your Julian favorite? The second I sat she tugged my collar, hunting for clues. I slapped her hand away. Your brother's broken. She froze. Like, can't perform? So you've ordered Vance's toy? I leveled Vance's stare. Sit, little monster, and talk like Vance person. Letitia's smirk returned. Fine, share the loot. How hot's your canary? Smoking, I deadpanned. Round eyes, sings on command, total emotional support. She gaped, then squealed, holy hell, Vance puppy type? Sabrina, you legend. I bit back laughter. She leaned in. Where do I enlist? I'll pay top dollar for that unit. I swirled my coffee. Northside Pet Market. I mean an actual canary. Bird stall, best one already in my living room. Bull. She dropped her voice. Truth, I swear I won't narc to Julian. Get your mind out of the gutter, Letitia. Her eyes slid to my neck. So the red, it's Julian? Rough night? Yep, I sighed. Man's got issues. Sabrina. She studied me. What if he secret you? He saw that post, went jealous, lost it? I pressed Vance's palm to her forehead. No fever, so why the delirium? You know how hard I chased, how icy he's been. We're arranged, he settled. She clasped my hand. But you adore that cool, distant act, right? Maybe last night was the real him, and before was just camouflage to reel you in. Cute theory. I nagged him into this marriage, remember? I pulled back and lounged on the sofa. Letitia's grin turned wicked. Only one way to test it. I raised an eyebrow. She giggled. For the next few days we hit every party in town, photos flooding my feed, outfits from demure to scandalous, posted the second we stepped out. But the bastard Julian stayed ice cold, answering in monosyllables, never liked thing. As if that night had been Vance's hallucination. Even on video he looked bored, granting me the minimum syllables. After Vance week I quit. Plenty of fish, I trade when I'm bored. Might as well score some fun. On the same wavelength, Letitia invited me for cocktails. The rooftop shimmered, bass pounding against our ribs. Cheers. 2 years married to my iceberg brother, hard labor. She clinked my glass. I drained mine. Not rough. Your brother delivers, lights off, still fireworks. Humans are weird, I yelled over the beat. Senior year I hunted the untouchable prince, married the glacier. Now I'm greedy, I want him blazing back at me. Nothing weird. Letitia slapped the table, booze flaming her voice. Love is possession. Own your greedy, divorce him if you must. Don't let Julian freeze you out. I laughed, finger tracing condensation. Divorce? Hasn't crossed my mind. Truth? I think Julian's crazy for you. Letitia leaned in, voice dropped to Vance whisper. Remember when you were chasing him and always waited under his office building? I came by several times and saw him standing at the window, eyes locked on the bench where you Saturday. Another time it rained, you had no umbrella and got drenched downstairs. He told me, have my assistant take her an umbrella, then grabbed one himself, went down, and pretended he just happened to bump into you. I stared, fragments flickering through my mind. There was that afternoon, rain pelting, soaking me fast. Julian appeared, black umbrella in hand, trouser hem splattered with mud yet posture razor straight. All he'd said was get in. Flat, matter of fact. I'd figured he was simply leaving work and offered shelter on Vance's whim. And all those presents, things you offhandedly mentioned, he hunted down for you. Any rich guy can pay, but remembering your random comments? Total closet romantic. You're making this up. My throat tightened, the liquor rushed to my head and stung my eyes. If he liked me, why did he freeze me out after we married? That wasn't coldness, it was bait. Letty tapped my forehead. He was scared you'd tire of him once the chase ended. You know your rep in our circle. Easily bored, curiosity addict, refuses to lose. Spot Vance challenge, pounce. The taller the pedestal, the better. Julian checked every box, so he became my exception. The one I pursued for ages and still wasn't sick of after 2 years of marriage. I kept silent, lifted my glass, and downed another gulp. The alcohol swirled, the ceiling lights blurred into pinwheels. I pulled out my phone, snapped the table littered with glasses, and posted, "Drinking alone is lame. Hubby's away, anyone care to join?" I tossed the phone aside the moment it uploaded. Letty grinned wickedly. "Jamie, you're baiting my brother. Aren't you scared he'll punish you? Why bother baiting? If he doesn't care, neither do I." Yet barely 5 minutes later my phone rang. Julian flashed on screen. I blinked and swiped. "Where are you?" His voice was deeper than usual, edged with Vance rasp. "Rooftop, cocktails with your sister." "Why?" Vance pause. "Send me the address." "Aren't you on Vance's business trip, flying back just to collar me?" "The address." No nonsense, pure steel beneath the courtesy. My stomach fluttered, but I texted him the location. I hung up. Letty raised Vance's brow. "My brother? Thought he was away. Who knows, maybe he's bored." I shrugged, but most of my buzz had vanished. "Humph. I'm almost jealous. You landed the good guy, my boyfriends never care." "Don't leave, okay?" Only my gym teacher ever said that. 40 minutes later the chatter around us dimmed. I looked up, Julian stood behind me. Black coat, shoulders squared, face unreadable while his gaze swept over us like Vance's scanner. Letty winked, I caught the cue, playing drunk. Julian shot his sister Vance's glare, bent, and scooped me into his arms. "Julian. Put me down." I squeaked and looped my arms around his neck on reflex. Home. Clipped, icy, yet his eyes flickered with something close to panic. "I haven't finished drinking." I wriggled, he only held tighter. "No more alcohol." He looked at Letty. "Take care of yourself," then carried me out. "Bro, be straight with Sabrina. Stop acting aloof or she'll run," Letty called after us. Julian paused for half Vance beat but kept walking. Every patron stared, my cheeks burned as I buried my face in his chest, feeling the steady thud of his heart. The night air slapped me sober, I shivered. He tucked me into the car, draped his coat over my shoulders, cedar and frost clinging to the wool. Sliding behind the wheel, he started the engine without Vance's word, only the motor hummed between us. I studied his profile under passing streetlights, sharp jaw, knuckles taut on the steering wheel, my finger obsession ignited again. Why'd you come back? Business wrapped. Cool, eyes on the road. So fast? Thought you needed 2 weeks. Vance beat. Always planned to finish today. I pouted, but sugar pooled in my chest. Letty's words echoed, maybe he did care. At the house he killed the engine. Can you walk? Legs like jelly, I still insisted, absolutely. I stumbled the instant my heels hit the pavers. He caught my waist and lifted me again into the elevator. Inside, he set me on the sofa, brought warm water. I sipped, watching him hover across the coffee table, hands in pockets, conflict swirling behind his eyes. What did you post? He asked suddenly. Nothing, just Vance's picture of my cocktails. I blinked innocent. The husband's away, anyone want to come over? He echoed my WhatsApp caption, voice tinged with acid. I smirked inside, then baited him. Sure, tons of people asked. I said no, married woman here. His expression softened Vance's fraction, but the frown stayed. No more cocktails in places like that. It's dangerous, and if you go again I'll punish you. You think you can order me around? I challenged on purpose. He stepped in, leaned down until his breath brushed my face, eyes dark. I'm your husband. If I don't, who will? His scent hit me and my heart sprinted. I used to think my craving for him was only skin deep. Now the feelings part was catching up, fast. I closed the gap, yanked his loosened tie, and whispered against his ear, fine, then you're stuck managing me for life. Every muscle in him locked. I shot him Vance pout, looped my arms around his neck, pressed closer. But I was naughty tonight, went to rooftop. Still planning to punish me? We were so close I felt his reaction instantly. My hands started to trail south when he suddenly shoved me back. That night, he paused, voice low. I didn't mean it. I was lost. Lost why? I tipped my chin. Because of the canary you keep? His gaze flickered, silence said yes. Julian, I gathered courage, are you in love with me? He went rigid, eyes snapping to mine, shock and panic blazing, like Vance's secret exposed. He opened his mouth, swallowed the words, then turned away, voice rough, you've had cocktails. Go to bed. I caught his hand, pushed him onto the couch, questions spilling, Julian, what is wrong with you? Split personality? Can we even survive this marriage? While he floundered I kept going, Ice King CEO, devoted husband, twisted deviant that night, which one is real? He said nothing, but his eyes turned black as storm clouds. The air froze. Julian held my gaze with Vance's do-or-die intensity, all of those are me. If you rip the mask off now, there's no exit. Sure you want that? Liquid courage turned me into Vance's starting rooster. I rose to the bait. Real face? Tear it off, let me see. I lunged and kissed him. In Vance's flash his hand clamped the back of my head and he returned the kiss, ferocious and desperate. Teeth, tongues, Vance's salt-slick tinge, sweat or tears, who knew? When I finally pushed for air, he let go. He traced my swollen lips with Vance's thumb, eyes bottomless and greedy, the hunter sealing the trap. Come. He hauled me up by the wrist, heat searing my skin, no chance of escape. I stumbled after him, through the living room, up the stairs, onto the roof, and into Vance's hidden I never knew existed. Behind the hidden lay Vance's narrow room. He snapped on the ceiling light. Dim bulbs revealed half-opened boxes and scattered canvases, Vance's damp heaviness in the air. Julian pressed Vance's hidden switch. Vance's wall sconce glowed, spotlighting Vance's shelf that made my stomach drop. Top row, stacks of photos, all me. Group shots from senior year, he'd cut everyone else out, leaving only my ponytailed grin. More from my overseas campus, obviously candid. Even Vance's side profile someone snapped at my office and dropped in the company chat, now laminated in pristine plastic. Lower shelves hoarded my belongings. My senior calculus notebook, Vance's bracelet I'd once given Letitia, the silk scarf I thought I'd lost in the break room last month, folded square and boxed in velvet. My throat closed, words vanished. He'd been hunting me long before I noticed. Julian wrapped his arms around me from behind, chin on my collarbone, breath burning and unsteady. I've worked so hard to become exactly who you'd want. Why do you still need that toy? Toy came out gnashed, jealousy warping into something sick. What does he have? More money? Prettier face? Can he love you harder than I do? He spun me, fingers biting my shoulders, eyes blood-rimmed. Do you know I've been spiraling since the canary rumor started? I kept telling myself, she's here, that's enough. But I can't. His madness froze me. I inched back. He yanked me flush, voice Vance's destructive vow. You asked if I like you? I'm past like, I can't exist without you. The first time I saw you in school, head bent over Vance's book, sunlight in your hair, I thought, I'm finished. He kissed me again, ruthless, metallic blood on our tongues, refusing to stop. He lowered me onto the photo-strewn carpet, pinned my wrists above my head, possessive tides in his eyes. You're mine, only mine. I would have played your perfect gentleman forever. You forced my hand. By now the truth slammed into me. The finest predator pretends to be prey. He'd disguised himself as the quarry, and I for it. I pushed trembling fingers through his hair, gasping, wait, one more question. He stilled. I stared into his eyes. When did you start loving me, Senior? He said. I frowned. I don't remember you at all. He hesitated, then answered, you just didn't see me. Somehow, his tone sounded almost resentful. Curious, I pressed, then why didn't you chase me? Why didn't you tell me? He laughed. Back then my family was still dirt poor, we couldn't even reach the threshold. Being with you would have been climbing way up. I suddenly remembered, Julian's family had only struck it rich these last few years off new energy deals. Before that, our crowd had never heard of them. I'd only met his sister because we studied abroad together. No wonder he'd never registered on my radar. I couldn't help muttering, so while I was chasing you for 6 months, were you secretly laughing at me? He smiled. No. I got mad. If everyone hadn't blown your cover this time, were you planning to hide it from me forever? He nodded. You don't like my type. From senior year through college, every guy you dated was the same, cool, elegant, bookish. I blinked. Did it ever cross your mind that maybe I wanted someone to love me as fiercely as I loved them? Now it was his turn to freeze. What if I changed types and you ran? Your 2 exes are proof, together Vance few days and then it was over. I was stunned. You knew all that? Like he wanted to end the talk and launch an assault, he pressed on. Yeah. So I had to keep you curious, only nonstop novelty would keep you hooked for life. Damn. He knew me too well. Game over. I flopped flat and played dead. After Vance's round of reckless fooling around, we lay on the carpet, spent. Motionless, we stared at the ceiling. He suddenly spoke. Last? If the real me scares you, you can still go. I said nothing, just tilted my head to look at him. He tilted his head back. Final ask, last? I'll count down from 3. Before you can still walk. After, you're stuck. I stayed silent, watching him. His fingers trembled. 3, 2, 1. I couldn't help pinching his cheek. 3 seconds aren't that fast. He pulled me into his arms. I said I'd count to 3. I never said 1 second per count. Vance's stretch of quiet. I broke it again. Want to see my canary? In an instant I felt his body go rigid. I scrambled up. Coming or not? I bought it at the bird market, gorgeous. He swallowed hard, disbelieving. Vance real, live canary? I nodded. 1 hour later, Westside Villa. I dragged Julian over, pointed at the bird in its cage, and teased him on purpose. Pretty, right? Not expensive breed, but I adore it. His Adam's apple bobbed, eyes dark and stormy. This is the thing? Yep, my little. I reached in to tease the bird, then glanced at Julian. Why you're not messing with me? He pointed at the cage, voice shaking, all that former craziness gone, replaced by pure embarrassment. What else? I doubled over laughing. What did you think? Which toy could match your capital, money, looks, and genuine goods? Julian's face actually flushed. He wanted to vanish. He opened his mouth, shut it, scratched his nose, and mumbled, "I thought I'd kept Vance's toy?" I leaned to his ear, imitating his own ominous tone, jealous to spiraling, planning to lock me away. He went stiff, shot me Vance's glare equal parts shame and fury, but with zero ammo. "Who told you to say you were keeping Vance's canary?" "I meant the bird." "You guys overlaid the drama." I laughed until tears came and patted his shoulder. "Julian, you're so adorable." He stayed silent, eyes locked on the yellow songbird, expression complicated, like he was glaring at Vance's rival. The bird, fearless, chirped twice more, bright and clear, as if mocking him. I kept cracking up. He suddenly hugged me from behind, chin on my shoulder, voice muffled. "Stop laughing." "I can't help it." I stifled Vance's giggle and teased, "But silly you, one search would have told you my canary was literal." His arms tightened, possessive and aggrieved. I didn't dare. "You wouldn't get it, like fearing your hometown, like waiting for Vance's bittersweet answer from the one you love." I turned, stood on tiptoe, and kissed his reddened ear. "All right, my fault. I won't tease you again." He looked down at me, the wildness had ebbed, leaving only tenderness and lingering fear. "Thank God it's Vance's bird." I laughed out loud. "If it had been Vance's real guy, what would you have done?" His gaze sobered, unyielding. "Then he'd disappear, far away, never show his face again." The words were harsh, the tone all care. From that day Julian quit the cool, elegant act. He'd stick to me openly. When I was working he'd sit nearby reading files, slipping fruit into my mouth. When I played with the canary he'd shuffle over, nudge the cage aside, muttering too. The collections in his study were arranged in neat glass cases. I'd flip through those photos with everyone else cropped out. He'd blush. "I didn't dare approach you then, this was the only way I could watch." He still got jealous. If I chatted Vance bit with Vance's male colleague, he'd come home sullen, cuddle me, and say, "See less of him from now on." One night, curled in his arms, I leafed through old pictures and stopped at Vance's senior year shot of me in Vance's ponytail. "Where were you sitting?" "I honestly don't remember." He pointed to Vance's clipped edge of the photo, voice soft. "Third row, diagonally behind you. Every day I could see your ponytail, sunlight on the tips, beautiful. You should have been braver then, we might have gotten together sooner." "Not." He hugged me tighter. "I prefer who I am now. I can give you everything you want." I lifted my face to kiss him. He answered gentle and devout, no longer frantic, just steady, lasting certainty. From the balcony the canary trilled, bright as ever. Moonlight spilled through the window, bathing the memories lining the study, and our clasped hands. Thanks for listening to today's story. On Vance's scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate it? If you liked this video, please like and share it with friends. We look forward to reading your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe for more great stories. See you next time.